Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. So in this video, I want to talk to you about some of my favorite twist endings. Now, I know I did a similar video about 3.5 years or so ago, and I think I titled it like my favorite surprise endings or my top surprise endings or something like that. But you know what? That was 3.5 years ago. That video is, long buried in my catalog of vids. I've since gained lots of new viewers and subscribers since then, and these topics are always fun to revisit. So why not revisit it and see if anything's changed. I didn't watch that video, so I can't even remember what my list was because I didn't want it to influence how I feel now. But you know what? Why not? These vids are always fun to do. So let's see. And when I'm done, I want all of you to jump into the comment section below and you guys let me know what some of your favorite twist endings are. And then we can compare notes. And you might type something down there where I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that. Oh, that's amazing. Or maybe there's something like, oh, I've never seen that. That's really cool. And maybe there'll be, a film or two on my list where you're like, oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. Gets us talking. It gets us talking. Now, let me preface this video by saying this is not a ranking. So this is in no particular order. When I did a quick Google search to compile my list for this video, there are so many movies with so many great twist endings. And you guys know me, I can talk. So, if I wasn't decisive, we'd be here until May. So I chose 6 movies that I absolutely adore with twist endings that I absolutely adore, that I find fantastic, just for the purposes. So we're not here until May. But this list could have easily been like, 50 movies long. You know what I'm saying? So again, no particular order, but 6 movies with twist endings that I absolutely love. So let's get started. Okay, where's my list? Here it is. Got it right here. Number 6, Shutter Island. This is not only one of my favorite Scorsese films, this is one of my favorite psychological thrillers, period. I saw this movie back in the theater when it came out in 2010 with my mom and my sister. And when that ending happened, I was like, oh, no way. Oh, shit. Now, I remember back then online, there was a big debate about whether or not a lot of the things that Leonardo DiCaprio's character was experiencing and a lot of the things he was uncovering about, the hospital and the island and all that kind of stuff were in fact true. And there were a lot of people saying, no, it was all part of the game. It was all part of the game. Everything that Ben Kingsley's, character says at the end and everything that the big reveal is, that's the truth. That's really what's going on. And I believe that is true. As we know in this world, 2 things can be true at the same time. So I absolutely do believe that the big reveal about how it was just one big role-playing game and how, the guns were plastic and, Mark Ruffalo's character was in on it. He wasn't really a marshal. He was a doctor. And DiCaprio, his character really did murder his wife and his 2 children and all. I believe all of that, all the big role-playing, 100%. But this film is steeped in symbolism and cinematic language. And I also believe that everything that DiCaprio's character was uncovering, whether he really did see a woman in that cave or whether it was his subconscious sort of telling him those things, I also believe there were a lot of shady shit going on at that hospital and on that island. And so I do believe that both things are true, even though the movie basically ends by telling you that, no, it was all this. We were leaning into this. This is what we were doing. But the movie is sort of winking at you a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about this movie. The debate rages on because you have 2 sides of the coin and then you have people like me who are kind of like, it's this and this and this and this. It's a fascinating discussion. This actually might make an interesting topic for a future vid, Shutter Island. But anyway, one of my favorite twist endings. Okay, number 5. Number 5 is The Others. The Others is one of my favorite movies, period. It's certainly one of my favorite horror movies. It would definitely be in a, well, depending on the day and depending on how I'm feeling, it might make a top 5, but a top 10 absolutely 100% hands down. I like this movie way better than The Sixth Sense. I'm not saying The Sixth Sense is a bad movie, but I really sort of lean into this movie. I identify with this movie more. And I think it's because it's more of my kind of horror movie, right? The slow burn, the mood, the atmosphere, the fog, the darkness, the big house. Do you know what I mean? Leaning heavily into those dark shadows and all that kind of stuff. I fucking love that stuff. So this movie is tremendous. You know what I mean? There's no blood, there's no gore. It's all that theater of the mind, and it's absolutely fantastic. So well done. And then, of course, there's the big reveal where you're like, oh, no way! They're dead! And then you begin to realize, oh, so the others are actually the humans. And you're like, oh, that's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, we've been following the story from the perspective of the ghosts. And to have the two kids in the movie allergic to the light, you know, gives the filmmakers the excuse to, you know, lean heavily into the darkness of the house, even during the daytime, which is great because it just plays out like this creepy, atmospheric, you know, eerie haunted house movie. But little do you know, they're actually dead. It was brilliant. Love it. The ending got me. Totally got me. One of my favorite movies, period. Not just horror movies, like one of my favorite films. Okay, number 4, Switchblade Romance. Or you might know it as High Tension. This is a 2003 French film, I believe. I remember renting this years ago when it first came out, and so it's subtitled. And it basically follows these two girls named Marie and Alex, and I think they're heading to Marie's parents' house or Alex's parents' house to study or something for the weekend or something like that. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. But a killer shows up and starts wreaking havoc, and you know, and I actually kind of like the look of the killer. He's kind of a big, brooding kind of guy. Not like, you know, Leatherface, but you know, he's far bigger than they are. And I remember just watching this movie play out, and I'm like, okay. And then at the end of the movie, you realize, oh my God, it's Marie. She's the killer. Right? Like it's, there is no big hulking man. She's the killer. She's delusional. She's in love with her best friend, Alex. But you're watching it play out as if there's a killer there, like as if there's like a third person there. And I remember like the ending of the movie. I think Marie like goes off into the forest or something to kill the killer. That's how, you know, the film is sort of playing out. Right. But then when she gets back to the truck that they're in because they've been trying to escape, she opens the back of the truck and her friend Alex is in there like tied up or something. It's like I said, it's been a while. And all of a sudden Alex is like really scared of Marie. And I remember going like, why is she so frightened of Marie? And the way the film begins to unravel and show you that it's actually been Marie this whole time, you're like, oh shit. Never saw it coming. I gotta watch that movie again. It's been a while. It's been a few years, but I remember, like I said, I'm hazy on the details, but I know that's like, you know, the Cliff Notes sort of version of how kind of things pan out. And it's just like, oh, like you think there's an actual killer that just suddenly shows up, you know, because you're watching it from that perspective, right? And then you realize at the end of the movie, there's lots of movies that, you know, do this kind of thing. But by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, it's actually her. Oh, it was really good. Really liked it. So High Tension or Switchblade Romance. It was released under the title Switchblade Romance in the UK. I kind of like that title, actually. Okay, number three. The year is 1997. The actor is Michael Douglas. And the movie, The Game. The Game. Remember The Game? Oh man, I love this movie. When I worked at a video store back in the day, there were two movies I always used to recommend to people. Coincidentally, both Michael Douglas films. The first one was A Perfect Murder with Michael Douglas, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Viggo Mortensen, I think is how you say his last name. great actor. And that film is from 1998. And then the other one I used to recommend all the time for people that would come in and they wouldn't know what to rent or whatever is The Game. I'd be like, have you seen The Game? And they're like, no, I haven't seen them. Like, do you like psychological thrillers? They're like, yeah, I love them. I'm like, well, you got to watch The Game. This is a great movie. I mean, this is essentially about Michael Douglas, who's playing, he's like this business guy who's really stressed out all the time. He needs a vacation, needs a break, he needs some downtime. And his brother, played by Sean Penn, gifts him this voucher or this coupon or something to this company that is going to take care of him. That's going to give him like a nice relaxing time. And it's a game. It's a game, but nobody knows what the game is. And he's like, well, what is this? It's a game. It's a game. It's well, what is the game? It's a game. Just go. You'll like it. So he goes to this building and he's got to sign up for it and it looks legit. And he's got to take like a stress test and he's got to run on the treadmill and fill out all these forms. And then, they're like, okay, great. If you are approved, we'll let you know. And he's like, that's it. They're like, that's it. And he's like, okay, so he leaves and goes home. But little does he know, the game has already started. This is awesome. This is an awesome movie, directed by David Fincher, by the way. So if you are a big David Fincher fan, Seven, Fight Club, The Social Network, this is one of his. This is a really good movie. This is a really, really, really good movie. So yes, this is one of my favorite twist endings. It's one of my favorite movies for sure. And again, another movie I haven't watched in quite a few years, but I own it and I should watch it again. It's a great film. It's a great film. And so if you haven't seen The Game, watch The Game with Michael Douglas, 1997. Okay, number 2. Again, this is no particular order. Number 2. Oh, man. I think the movie is good. It's a good movie. But the ending is like, oh! Like if this was a ranking, if I really was ranking the endings in terms of their like shock value, this would probably be number 1. And that is 2007's The Mist. I think the movie is good. I like the movie. It's not one of my favorites, but I like the movie enough. I think it's a solid flick. But that ending, oh my God, it's devastating. It's devastating. And this is a film that was directed by Frank Darabont, who, of course, directed The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile and The Majestic in 2001 with Jim Carrey. I think that was a bit of a step down from his 2 previous outings, but he sort of redeemed himself with The Mist. And as far as I know, he hasn't directed a feature film since. He's still directing. He does a lot of television work, but man, I wish Frank Darabont would get back to directing feature films. This ending is so shocking, because they were so close. And I remember Frank Darabont, I believe this is true anyway, him saying that the studio didn't want that ending. And he fought for it. He said, well, look, if I'm not going to have a chance to do this ending, then I'm not going to do the movie. And they were like, okay, fine. And they gave him thank goodness. It is so shocking. Everybody talks about, or when anybody talks about The Mist, it's always like, yeah, The Mist. And that ending, oh my God. Because they were right there. There they were, the father and his son and the other 3 survivors. And they rush out to the car. They get in the car and the fog is all around. They're driving and the big behemoth, titan-like, god-like creatures. It's like, oh my God, we're dead. And then it comes down to, do we want to be eaten alive or do we want to go quickly? And they decide to kill themselves. Well, I think it was the father that killed his son. And I can't remember now if he turned around to the back seat and shot everybody or if people took the gun and shot themselves. I can't remember. But nonetheless, you see it from the outside of the car. You just see just, the muzzle flashes and then you cut back into the car and the dad is still there. Everybody else is dead. And he's got the gun in his mouth and he's crying. He's like, oh, because it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And then Then something's coming through the mist. What is it? What is it? What is that? What is that? Oh my God. And he gets out of the car, and he's there. And all of a sudden through the mist comes the cavalry, comes help, comes hope, comes human beings. If he had just waited like 30 seconds, they all would have survived. Oh my God. Can you imagine? And that's where it ends. That's where it ends, because you don't need any more. You want to leave people with that devastating ending. That's how you do it. You don't need an epilogue. You don't need like the next day. You don't need an extra 5 minutes of the dad talking to the military. No, you fucking end it there and leave the audience going, That's what you do. Cut that for TikTok. I don't have TikTok. But I'm telling you, man, it's like, holy shit. Oh my God. Fucking love it. Okay. I could talk ad nauseum about the Mist's ending. Number one. Now this movie, again, no particular order. But this movie is definitely one of my favorite horror films of all time. This is a remake, and in my opinion, better than the original. It's one of those rare instances where that actually is the case. And this is 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, Art Hindle, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, this is a great film. This is a great film. It's so eerie and creepy, and in my opinion, you can really feel the paranoia in this movie. And I love the use of, light and shadow in certain scenes. I adore this film. And that ending, it works so well. It's so shocking. It's not quite as shocking as The Mist. Like The Mist has like the double punch, where, everybody's dead in the car except for him, and he's about to kill himself, and you're like, oh, fuck. And then the cavalry comes, and you're like, oh, no. So there's like boom, boom. You know what I mean? This is just more of that, oh, really? Oh, no way. Oh, that sucks kind of thing. I know that probably sounds like, the same thing, but but I remember when I first watched this movie, I was like, oh, no way. And I love the way he looks. Donald Sutherland playing Matthew, he's just standing there and he looks over at the woman and it's kind of eerie and gloomy, right? And he looks at her and then he just goes, and I love the way his eyes look. And I was just back like, oh, it's just like, fuck, they got him. No, fuck, because you didn't know. It was so brilliantly done because, he's hiding right towards the end of the movie. And then the police officers, are searching in the area where he's hiding, and their flashlight comes across the lens of the camera, and then it just cuts. And now it's presumably like the next day or something. And Matthew's at work and he's not talking, and but you believe that, well, it looks like he's just trying to blend in, right? Because that's what you have to do, not show emotion or anything like that. But there's one moment during the ending before when we're following Matthew around at work, hoping that he's just trying to blend in and not show any emotion. Because at this point, we don't know if he's compromised, right? There's one moment where it looks like he shows a little bit of emotion, right? Like he's thinking, or he's sad, or he's being, contemplative or something like that, right? Which you wouldn't necessarily show. It's very nuanced. It's very subtle, and I believe it was this moment, whether the audience realized it consciously or not, that affected the audience's subconscious in making them feel a little bit better about Matthew's situation. So the impact that happens a minute later is more devastating and shocking. And that's when Matthew goes into the lab to check on Brooke Adams' character, Elizabeth. And she's in there and she's working on some sort of experiment. And she's totally emotionless, totally robotic. It's very clear that's not Elizabeth, right? She's like this. That kind of thing, right? But Matthew's not. Matthew's standing there watching her. He's not showing any emotion, but he's watching her. And he does one of these. And then he leaves frame, almost as if he's having a human thought, you know, some sort of contemplative thought, or he's sad, or he's thinking about something, or he's sad that she's gone and he can't be with her and now he has to, you know what I mean? It's very nuanced and very subtle, but I believe that moment when you see Matthew go and walk away, that's the moment, whether you realize it consciously or not, that's the moment that infects the subconscious of the viewer to let them know that, oh, no, this is Matthew, this is okay. So a minute later, Matthew, you're like, no, oh, they got him. They did get him. Oh, fuck. God damn it. God damn it. Do you know what I mean? It's so well done. Man. And I love, you know, that the camera just pushes in on his mouth, goes right into his mouth, cuts to black, and there's no music during the credits. It is just the credits scrolling up the screen. There's nothing. Nothing. I fucking love that. That is a creative decision that I absolutely would have made as well. Totally. I could totally see myself going, you know what? We don't need fucking music here. Let's just let the audience sit with that. Let's have this moment play out. No! Push up onto his mouth, go into his mouth, cut to black, roll credits, and have nothing. Have dead fucking silence. And let's let the audience just sit with that shock, with that ending. Fucking love it. It's great. Anyways, folks, those are some of my favorite twist endings. You see how long this video is? And I was only talking about 6. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Let me know what some of your favorite twist endings are in the comment section below. I would love to know. My name's Dave McRae. If you want to follow me on social media, you can. There are my links right there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. That's going to do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Alrighty. Cheers.